Hey traders, Nick here looking at AMD. Um, Tech stock, obviously, chip sector has been in and out of favor because of what's going on. The other day, the earnings reports raised fears over the effects of China and Huawei and all of that. So this is specifically to somebody short AMD. I have someone who is short AMD. Looks like a good, I don't know when they entered, but looking at it from here, this is a level they need to hold, otherwise they will fall into support. But this is a pivotal level because I'm looking here, this is a 4-hour chart, so every candle is 1 hour. I hope you can't hear the noise in the background. They decided to do construction outside the window today. So we have resistance and then burst out of it. But until they burst out of it, they spent a few days in here. And so a few weeks, actually, I should say. So that's a consolidation zone. So usually those are support. Now this is a low time frame, so only 4-hour candles. So support, I'll put that in quotes. Meaning if they lose, if I wanted to start shorting now, I probably wouldn't start until they lose 29, 29.1, 29. It's a nice round number, why not? Miss on a few ticks, not a big deal. And I would expect the target would be somewhere here, technically, but I would expect a lot of support in here based on this chart here. So this is point number one. First of all, AMD is not cheap. PE wise, it's probably the most expensive of all of them, but it's been the champion of all of them. Nvidia and all of those guys fell out of favor. AMD held up. It was up in a tough year, so last year. So it has relative performance. This is 1 year. So this is where it gets exciting, somebody shorting AMD, because if you're shorting the markets, this is probably a good one to short, especially if it breaks down on its own. So this is that same zone we were looking at. This is the same 29 line, and this is the support area I was expecting, and this would be the target area I was expecting. If I look left, these are all important lines at one point in time for the stock. So is it here? So it could be, let me see if I can mark it up. So if somebody's short and they're starting to see the short heat up, they'll get excited because they are probably thinking it's somewhere around here where it's going to fall, try to bounce back and fall. But I bet this would need the whole market to also fall. So I still say that there is a war going on for AMD right here because they know if they lose it, they're going to fall. But if they do fall, the bulls, they have support number one. Support number two, eyeball, would be the zone, the target of this little mini breakdown here, because it has been pivotal. It was support, it was resistance before that, it was resistance and support before that, so that was pivotal again. So we have 1 knot, 2 knots, and then here's another knot. There are plenty in between, but these are 3 major ones that jump at me. So bottom line is, if I'm short AMD, I stay short it. And especially if I'm long other stuff in the market or indices, that would be a good hedge, good balance. One could argue is doing this. I'm not calling for it. I'm just showing the possibilities. So, but it all starts with what they do the next few ticks. So, seasonality suggests from somebody else, not from me, that the next week should be tough for stocks, for indices, I should say, the S&P specifically. Historically, it hasn't done well after this week, the June expiration. So we shall see if that's, but these are not normal times, so take that with a grain of salt. Onus on the bulls for AMD is not to lose 29.15 really, or 29. Let's call it a nice round number, because then the bears will press the short. If I'm short, I say, hey, nice going, and then attract more people to short, and fast money comes out fast. So this is the short-term look at AMD. If I go to a weekly, it's it shows me that it's living in cloud 9, and these are the same moves that we just looked at. Is it here? The question. If so, then there's a lot more downside. But remember that this right here, this last candle right here, from here to here, this from 24 and below, that was an October crash. What's different this year? The Fed. If things get crappy from China, the G20 in Osaka, the Fed will step in. So I think the bulls will buy the dip. How deep a dip? I don't think it'll be this dip. I think this candle was an overshoot. So if I were to short, I would probably not target lower than 24. So if I wanted to go long and I want to own it at 24, I'd be brave enough to sell it at 24 to put. out in time. So if it falls through 24, they say, here's your stock at 24, and I have to buy it. Meanwhile, I can generate income. So I haven't looked at a specific trade, but I was addressing somebody who wanted to short it. All right, AMD done. If you have any questions, let me know.